right, guys, what's going on? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And today we're going to be talking about bots in Splitgate 2. Now, this is a very, very hot topic of discussion because I like to think that for the vast majority of us that are playing this game and any other multiplayer shooter for that matter, I think that the majority of us probably prefer humans against humans, like people against people instead of bots. Now, what happens the majority of the time, I would say 70 to 75% of the time, is that if a player on your team or on the other enemy team quits, they quickly get replaced with a bot. Now, in this case, in this particular gameplay that you're going to see here, there are two bots on the enemy team from the get-go. I don't know if that's because the game itself just struggled. I mean, granted, it was really late. It was like 2 a.m. or something like that when I got this gameplay. It was actually on stream that I just shut down before starting to record this. And I don't know if it's because it took too long for the game to find two other people within my region at a specific amount of time, and it just put bots in there in the first place. I don't know if that's like a bug that needs to be fixed, because I remember the dev specifically said that one of the changes that they've done recently is they've made it to where you're not going to get more than one bot on your team from the get-go. So obviously, if that is the case, then that's something that they still haven't hashed out 100%. But at the same time, they might have like a backdoor sort of thing to where it's like, hey, if it takes a little too long to find a match or whatever the deal is, they're going to put a bot in there in the first place. I mean, I would love for the game to have like some sort of, like, granted, what I'm about to mention here is kind of a really big, super fancy game design that would take like probably forever to produce if you were able to do it. And that is to where, let's say, for instance, let's say a teammate quits, it gets replaced with a bot. But at the same time, the bot, I'm sorry, not the bot, the system itself is still looking for a replacement. But if you've paid attention to the game, you'll notice that you're not, at least I haven't from what I could remember, you don't really join games in progress. You just end up starting from the get-go, from start to finish, which is cool. I mean, obviously you want something like that to be in ranked all the time, but I think if the game were to at least allow a join in progress, I know none of us like a join in progress, but I think, and again, for you guys that disagree, you can correct me in the comment section below. I'd rather, me personally, I'd rather join a game in progress against a team of humans, and with full-on humans being on my team, in a join in progress game or a join session compared to having the system that we have now. I would suggest another thing they would do. Now, this is where the really big game design thing comes in, is to where you can actually design the bots to be more difficult or more easy depending on the person that they are targeting on the other team, or the average of the team's skill level, because every game knows a particular player's skill level, right? So if they take it by a team to team basis, they can adjust, like on the fly, the bots could be either more difficult or easier depending on who the enemies are of those bots. So if the player is not particularly good, the bots will be easier. If the player is a monster, then the bots themselves will be monsters. I mean, obviously that would be something, but again, going back to my original point, I think the vast majority of players, regardless of skill level in the first-person shooter community, would rather play against other people rather than bots. And I think one of the things that could easily be a solution to this is to be able to join a game in progress. Now, like I said, I know a lot of us don't like that, but like I said, I think the majority of us would rather have that. And then it's like, okay. Another thing is that you're also like, there's no option to stay within the same lobby, very similar to X Defiant, to where it's like, oftentimes you will match up against, the same people again, but what happens is you end up going from game to game. But the thing is, like, in terms of the lobby, like, do you press, like, when you press X, or in my case, X or square, whatever it is, to play again, does that mean that you're going to play with the same party, or does that mean you're just playing again, you want to search for a match right away, as opposed to just going to the main menu? I don't know. I think that could be part of it. There might be a little bit of something like that I'm not catching. It's not really something that I paid too much attention to until just now, until recording this commentary, because again, after every match, you press the X button to play again, or there's just a countdown. I don't know if it's just to speed up the progress to start looking again for another match, or if it's a way of basically just staying in the same lobby. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe one of the devs can actually, if they watch this, they can respond. As a matter of fact, in my last video, one of the devs actually responded to it in terms of the cheaters, and it's something that they're always implementing and that their engineer team, you can actually look in the comment section of the previous video, that the engineering team is always working, and they're always at it. Let's put it that way. Very very basic paraphrase there, but they did respond. So thank you and shout out to one of the devs for that as well. But going back to bots, I remember like there was only one other game to where actually the bot experience was kind of enjoyable, but it wasn't like the same as this game. I mean, granted, this game has its own flavor, it's its own style, it's its own thing. I get it. But one of the things that I found rather kind of enjoyable was Titanfall 2. Because with Titanfall 2 and in Titanfall 1, in attrition, you had bots, right? You had bots in that game mode, so they wouldn't be worth the same amount of points as getting a kill on a fellow on an enemy pilot. But you would still get those mini points, right? Because the point of attrition is for your team to accumulate more points than the other team. So there was always something to shoot at. There was always something to engage in, whether you were a Titan or whether you were in your Titan or whether you were a pilot or whatnot. There was always a target to shoot at, and it was rather fun. I would say that Respawn with Titanfall 2 and Titanfall 1 actually did bots right. They limited them to only one game mode, if I'm not mistaken. I think attrition was the only game mode that allowed for bots. And it made total sense, because they weren't worth as many points as killing an enemy pilot or an enemy that was in a Titan, but they were still worth something. So regardless of your skill level, you could always contribute, and they would spawn in like nonstop, and a lot of times in groups and in different parts of the map, and therefore you always had something to shoot at. And sometimes they would get a kill on you, but usually if it was like if you were weak or if you were completely ignoring them or whatnot, it was kind of a rarity compared to how often it does happen. So I mean, it doesn't happen very often. It's like only maybe 10% of the time you get killed by a bot in Titanfall 1 and 2, from my experience at least. So it wasn't really, it was more like there for just extra points that you could shoot at, keep the action up and stuff like that. So it made sense from a design standpoint. It was a lot more fun. But I've heard, in terms of this game, I've heard some people say that the bots are too difficult for them. Now, obviously, the opinion of this varies on the individual skill level, but I'm wondering if there is or is not something in place that the devs have developed to where maybe the bots are at a different difficulty depending on who you're playing or who you are on a team or whatnot. So I mean, I got a really good amount of kills and a really small amount of deaths in this game, obviously. So it's like the bots were, I think the bots all around are pretty much the same. I think maybe I haven't done this, but maybe in custom games, I don't know if you can adjust the difficulty. I know you can adjust how many players there are in, like, let's say you set up a free-for-all or whatnot against bots. I know you can do that, but I'm not sure about difficulty. I haven't really played too much with custom games, to be honest. Just been sticking to the regular, meat and potatoes of the regular arena multiplayer. So, but yeah, I think the opinion on the whole bot situation, I think, is going to be very interesting in terms of what people have to say in the comment section. But again, obviously the devs know that most people, if not all people, if not the vast majority of people, prefer to play against other humans, of course, other people. So and it's very interesting to see what they're going to continue to do with that, because again, they've already previously stated that they've adjusted to where you're not supposed to get more than one bot in a match. And we knew that this was a problem when the beta released, or I'm sorry, not the beta. I don't think it was a beta. I think it was a full release of the game, to where there would be like everybody on the other team would be bots, and then I guess the game would accumulate what your skill level was after that, and then after that it would go into matchmaking again. It could have either been a bug, or it could have been something to kind of for the game to kind of get an idea of what your I don't know, hidden MMR is, I guess. So I'm assuming a lot of players are assuming that was the case, but that may not be the case. We'll see. I don't know if there was anything in the Discord discussed about this, but I'm sure it's been a topic of discussion within the community, especially in the beginning when this game first released, because at first, everybody, including myself, for like the first few games or whatnot, we were dealing with bots on the other team. But thankfully it got hashed out pretty quickly, but it's, again, still, it's obviously not perfect, right? And this game here is an example of that. It doesn't really happen often. Usually what happens with me is it's a full-on 4-on-4, 4 humans against 4 humans, 2 teams, and whoever ends up quitting on the other team, which could happen anywhere from 30 to 50% of the time when my total experience, they get replaced with bots. So there have been times to where I'd see 2 bots, and in I think maybe in 1 or 2 cases even more, to where there was like 3, to where I would just quit out the lobby before the game even started because I didn't want to play against bots. So it's good for target practice. It's good for getting a feel of your weapon and stuff like that, and trying to get to that next level of your consistency and hitting your shots. But bots don't perform like humans do, in terms of, the way they react and stuff like that. We have come a long way since they first been implemented in multiplayer games, if I'm not mistaken, but it's obviously still not where it needs to be. But maybe in due time that'll change in terms of technology and everything else, especially when it comes to AI and stuff like that, as it continues to get more and more advanced, which is quite scary if you ask me. But with that being said, I want to know what you guys think of the entire subject. Do you think they need to implement a design, something to where the bots could be different difficulty levels depending on the average MMR of the entire lobby, or should I say on the entire enemy team? Or do you guys think that they should implement something else to where it's like, hey, let's say a bot has to quickly replace somebody that quit, but at the same time, the game is also searching for somebody so that way they can join a session in progress. So like you can have a temporary bot, and then as soon as the game simultaneously looks for somebody, bam, they come in. So I think having the option to be able to join a game in progress would be a good solution for that. But at the same time, it may not be the only solution. And for whatever reason, so far, the devs don't seem to have that implemented in the game. And I remember even with X Defiant, it was often, it took a long time for actually people to join a game in progress if somebody ended up quitting. I remember this was a thing in Black Ops 3 as well. For some reason in Black Ops 3, it took a while for, if somebody on the enemy team were to quit, for the game to find other players. And I think it's a design thing because Black Ops 3 was a very popular game. So it's I think it's something that's by design. But with maybe some sort of team balancing algorithm that might be interfering with that. I could be wrong. This is just me speculating, but this is one of the reasons why we make those videos, to kind of have a discussion in the comment section down below, and of course to hopefully and respectfully get the attention of the developers, and maybe we might even get an answer, or it might be something that they may not be fully aware of that's going on, and we're just kind of helping bring it to light, even though I'm pretty sure they're aware of it because they get data on this stuff. So I'm pretty sure that they're working. They have a list full of things that they're working on, and obviously I'm sure this is one of the things that they need to hash out, but at the same time, it's not like in terms of the top of their priority list. They want to be able to, get ranked out there. They want to get the camo grind out there, and improvements in terms of optimization across the board. I remember them saying that, as well as a couple of other things that they had on their list in their recent tweet. But with that being said, guys, I want to know your thoughts down below in terms of this entire subject. And I'm really eager to read what you guys have to say. And with that being said, guys, as always, I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to watch and or listen. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.